Okay, I'm doing this video old school on my phone, but I wanted to give you guys 5 ways or 5 things that can help you differentiate between real love and love bombing. And the reason I wanted to do this video is because I was going through comments on my channel and you guys were like, Michelle, don't be afraid of real love. It does exist. Don't think that every expression is love bombing. And I totally agree with that, 100%. In fact, I feel like if anyone doesn't get to taste real love in their life, then that kind of sucks. So I'm all about real love. I'm not the kind of person that goes around hyper vigilant as to what is real love and what isn't. However, I guess I would describe my faith in real love as being backed with knowledge. Okay? There was a time when I thought everyone was what they showed themselves to be, and I learned that that's not true. So in order to not fall for something that is love bombing, we have to kind of add knowledge and understanding as to the difference between love and love bombing, and then we have to trust ourselves in the process. So I'm going to give you guys 5 tips that were super helpful for me when I was at the point where I really wanted to experience real love and I wanted to stop the patterns in my life that weren't healthy, and I'm pretty confident that these tips will help you as well. So let's dive right in. Number 1 is somebody that really loves you knows you. They know who you really are, not who they think you are. So in the beginning of a relationship, if somebody is describing you as the most amazing person in the world that, is just above and beyond anything they've ever come across. Now, I'm not saying that that's not true, right? And I'm not saying that a person can't feel that way about you, but it has to be backed with knowing you. Otherwise, honestly, what are they basing it on? So if somebody is showering you with compliments that are just, they kind of feel like compliments, but they're not based on things that are actually have anything to do with you and knowing you, then you're going to want to contemplate the fact that that might be love bombing. So the second way you can tell if it's love or love bombing is their acceptance as to who you really are. So when it's love, they know you, they know your strengths, they know your weaknesses, they know, they see your imperfections, they notice things that aren't their favorite thing about you, but because they know all the pieces of you, they can see your value and they love you despite your imperfections. And they don't make you feel bad for who you are. With love bombing, they erase who you are and they replace it with this idealized version of who they want you to be. Now, I'm going to be honest. If I had read the second point, or listened to a video like this 20 years ago, I wouldn't have really understood that. But I'm going to give you a description of something that happened in my life that might be helpful for you to understand this point. At one point when I was dating somebody, I distinctly remember them saying things like, this is who you are. Other women are like this, but this is how you are. And to an extent, it would be how I was, but it was always kind of passing outside of the limits of who I really was. So for example, one thing that was said was like, you never get upset. Like, you are so calm and you are so laid back. Nothing I do upsets you. And okay, I'm exaggerating some of the words just to help you to understand it. But to an extent, I was very laid back. I didn't like to get angry, so I wasn't always hypervigilant as to reasons to get upset. However, I was human. And if somebody did something that hurt me, I had a right to be upset. However, that repetition of that all the time, looking back, now at the time I didn't realize it, but looking back, I realized that it made me feel like I needed to never get upset. Like I needed to change, and like that was the right way of being. Now, obviously I'm showing my own dysfunction in that, okay? But the reality is I didn't realize that I was being told on a very subconscious level what was expected of me, instead of being accepted for who I was, okay? Now, Don't have to explain how that relationship went, because if it started that way, it's kind of obvious, but it's something that you want to look for. Number 3, love is not conditional. Now, obviously, there are limits to that condition. You know, if somebody is abusing you, if somebody's cheating on you, it doesn't mean that now love is unconditional. It just means that that's not love. And there's a boundary for healthy love, and that's unacceptable in healthy love. But other than that, I'm really talking about imperfection and the little idiosyncrasies that make a person their unique self, right? Somebody's going to love you unconditionally in that sense when it comes to your imperfections. But with love bombing, love is very conditional. The expressions of love, the pouring out of love, it's almost like there is an on and off switch. Whereas with love, it's always on. Okay, so for example, that same relationship that I talked about in the previous point, I remember a time where I had to say no to plans, right? Like this person wanted to go out and I was like, you know, I have other plans. I can't go out that night, but maybe we can go out, you know, next week. And I wound up getting the silent treatment. So if somebody's love feels so good, however, it's only given if and when you always do what they want, so it's conditional, that is love bombing, and that is not real love. No matter how good it feels when you're doing what they want, if they have that on-off switch, then it is not real love. Number 4, real love feels right. It feels good. It brings out the best in you. It helps you to become a better person. However, love bombing, there's always this underlying thought that something's a little bit off. The problem is that most people that are going through these relationships, they haven't fully understood the dynamics of emotional manipulation. Maybe they haven't healed themselves yet, so there's no self-trust. So the thought is there that something is off, but your inner self is constantly minimizing that thought and making you feel like there's something wrong with you for not trusting the other person. Real love is accepting, and it's not controlling. You feel free to be you. You feel free to have your own loves and passions. You feel free to be a separate person. You feel free to have your own friends, other friends that maybe this person doesn't know, and you introduce them, but they're your friends, and you're free to have them and continue to have them in your life. Well, with love bombing, as the relationship progresses, there is a deep level of control that comes out. So you will find that as the relationship progresses, when it's love bombing, your friend circle starts to change, and it becomes friends that only the other person approves of. You may even change the connection you have with your family. Like you suddenly realize that you are less and less and less doing the things that formerly made you you, or spending time with the people that you formerly enjoyed spending time with. And the last thing that you really want to look at, and this is so important. So last doesn't mean least important. It's extremely important to make sure that the person's words and actions are on the same page. So when it's love, their words and actions are on the same page. You can see that. The person says they love you and they have all these actions that back it up. But with love bombing, people tend to love the words that the person is saying. Oh, they said this and they promised this and we're going to do this together and our future's going to be like this and this is what they think about me. And it sounds absolutely beautiful. But when they put the actions of the person side by side with those words, they often see that they are not on the same page. And if they are not on the same page, then it is not love. It's love bombing, it's manipulation, and it's not a healthy relationship. So by all means, everyone, I believe in love. I think you should believe in love as well. But I do think that we need to recognize what love really is so that you can break the patterns of relationships that were harmful to you in the past. We can't keep doing and thinking the same ways and expect a different result. Okay, we have to learn from what we've been through and use that to help us to strengthen ourselves, and that in turn is going to help us strengthen our relationships with others.